start over now. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Just to let everybody know, I am sharing things with you from the 85th ayah from Surah Al-Nisa. Surah Al-Nisa, 4th Surah, ayah number 85. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً حَسَنَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِنْهَا وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً سَيِّئَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ كِفْلٌ مِنْهَا وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقِيتًا. Now, the idea of shafa'ah, a lot of Muslims know about the idea of shafa'ah tied to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the Day of Judgment. But actually the word shafa'ah and the usage of shafa'ah in Arabic and in the Quran, it is much more than that. So today I will be talking to you about shafa'ah and I'll define it for you. But it won't be about the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Actually, it will be our shafa'ah for each other. It's a different kind of shafa'ah. And there's a shafa'ah we think about in the akhirah, but this discussion is going to actually be about shafa'ah in this dunya, in this world. And Allah talks about that in Surah Al-Nisa. Now the idea of shafa'ah, originally, it stems from the idea that you do something for someone, or you listen to somebody's recommendation. This was actually used in Old Arabic. Shuf'ah was a kind of land, like you're trying to purchase land, but the seller is not giving it to you. He doesn't like you, he doesn't want to sell you the land. So you bring an elder from the village, and the elder says, why don't you sell him the land? And he says, shuf'ah. He gives it to you. In other words, out of respect for the elder, he gives you the land. Now, he himself was not going to do it, but since somebody of respect and status came, you put in a good word, and it got through. That's the idea of a shuf'ah. Not shafa'ah, but shuf'ah. It's a related word. Now, Allah Azza wa Jalla in this ayah talks about people who make a case for someone else. So let me give you some easier examples, not from old times, but our times, of shafa'ah and of shuf'ah, before we look at the ayah. Somebody applies for a job at the company. And they're trying to maybe get a job as an accountant or as a secretary, something. It's one of your cousins. And so you take the resume and you give it to your manager, and you put in a good word, because you want your cousin to get the job. So you're giving him a shafa'ah. Now this is a positive kind of shafa'ah. You're trying to recommend someone or help someone out, put in a good word for them. You know, when you give your resume, sometimes you give references. And each of those references are actually a shafi'ah for you, actually. They're called a tazkiyah also in modern Arabic, but in the olden Arabic, it's actually a shafi'ah. In other words, somebody calls them and says, hey, so what do you think about Muhammad? What do you think? We should hire this person? Did they work with you before? And you say, he was an excellent employee. He was a great guy, he's very responsible, this and that and the other, and then therefore they give him the job, right? That's the idea of a recommendation or a reference. So a shafi'ah is someone who puts in a good word for you, helps you out. This is shafa'ah hasanah. This is shafa'ah hasanah. Now, before I go on, I want to define shafa'ah hasanah in two more ways. The idea of shafa'ah is that somebody trusts you. They came and they asked your opinion because they trust you. They don't know this other person. They don't know anything about them, but they know you. So your opinion is all they have. So they're going to listen to you because they trust you. Now the problem is when we trust someone, then sometimes you and I can take advantage of that. We might just say, it's my cousin, I know he's lazy. And I know I used to go with him in college and he was late to every class. And I know when he got his job, he's been fired 3 times because he oversleeps. But he's my cousin. So when they ask me, should I give him a job, I'm going to say yes. Because, you have to help your family. And he calls you before and he says, Akhi, I'm your cousin. You have to keep family ties, silatul rahim. He does some of that, and then you're like, okay, I'll take care of you. So you go to the manager and you say, this is a good guy. This is going to be a good hire for you. Now there's 2 problems with that. One of the problems with that is that you, later on, is it possible 1 month later, 2 months later, that guy your cousin does the same thing he's been doing all this time, he gets fired again? He messes up again. Now who looks bad? Not just him. Now you look bad too, and you lost trust. Your manager who used to trust you no longer trusts you, because you just tried to help your cousin. And so next time you give somebody a recommendation or give your opinion, your manager will say, okay, inshallah, I'll look into it. But that's it. You don't get any further than that. So this is the subject we're talking about. Now Allah says, مَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً حَسَنًا. Whoever makes a good recommendation, Whoever puts in a good word, but a good word, Hasan, beautiful and good, actually has to, everything inside of it should be good. The inside of it and the outside of it. Meaning the inside of it is, it's truly sincere, it's honest, it's the accurate assessment. And on the outside you said good things also. Sometimes a Syafa'ah Hasanah could be that you say, don't hire this person. Sometimes that's Syafa'ah Hasanah too. Syafa'ah Hasanah is not only that you say, please, please, give this person a job. No, yes, please marry this one. This is a good guy. He's a good guy, I know him. It's not always that. Sometimes Syafa'ah Hasanah is, no, actually I think you should stay away from him. He's been through 3 divorces and he's got 2 court cases. Stay away from that guy. That's also a Syafa'ah Hasanah. You understand? This is important to know. Because when we hear the word Syafa'ah Hasanah, you start thinking, well, I should say good things about everyone. No. You have to be honest about everyone. What is expected from you is that you're honest about everyone. And now when you are honest, there are 2 things that happen. One, you help somebody get something good. You're honest and you say, I recommend this person for marriage, this is a good sister, this is a good brother. Or you recommend someone for a job, or you recommend someone for a partnership in a business. Or you recommend someone you're about to go into college or something, they're going into a dorm. They say, hey, you know this person? They said you know him. Should I become his roommate? You say it's a good guy. You should become his roommate. It'll be good for you. When you do these kinds of things, then Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَلَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِّنْهَا. Then whatever good happened, as a result, you get a share. You get a piece of whatever good that came. So if you recommended somebody good for marriage, to the best of your knowledge, you gave good information, you did not cover or hide anything, because it's your family or friend or whatever, because a lot of times people do that, when the marriage is happening, people lie about their son, and they lie about their brother, and they lie about their family, because, when people try to ask, you only present the good picture. You only say what people want to hear, but you don't really give the honest truth. It's, we have this unfortunate reality in many cultures, Muslim cultures and non-Muslim cultures. We say family first. You ever heard this before? Family first? Actually, family first is only in some things. In our deen, truth first. Honesty first. And sometimes, وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوِ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ. You have to stand up for justice, even if it's against yourself. Even sometimes you have to speak up against your own parents. It'll happen if they're lying, if they're cheating someone in business. You don't say family first. You don't say وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا when they're doing dhulm. That's not how that works. The same way, even if sometimes you have to speak against your own family, the whole family is doing something wrong, you can't stand by it. You can't just let it happen. And sometimes they have family meetings and you're told, don't say anything, listen, your cousin's about to get married. We all know his problems, but don't create problems, okay? Nobody say anything. Okay, now let's make salah. And then you're reciting, وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً. At the job, with the family, with friends. You know your friends better than anyone else. And you know your friends' problems too. You have a friend who smokes all the time. You have a friend that misses salawat all the time, and now he's getting married. And their family comes to you and says, you're his friend, what do you think? And you're thinking in your head, well, he's my friend. I gotta look out for my friend. I should say he's a great guy. Or should I tell them honestly? Somebody's giving their daughter to this man. Would you want your daughter, when somebody comes for your daughter, wouldn't you want the truth? You wouldn't want honesty? So this is when يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً حَسَنًا فَيَكُنْ لَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِّنْهُ. He's going to have a nasib from it. A nasib actually, an interesting word that's used. A portion that is set for you, you had to have it. In other words, everything that person, you recommended some people for marriage, and after the marriage they had children, those children became ulama, those ulama served thousands of people. Every good that came from that marriage, you have a share. Just because you put in the right word. Rasulullah ﷺ described this phenomenon very beautifully, very concise hadith. الدَّالُ عَلَى الْخَيْرِ كَفَاعِلِهِ. Someone who points to something good is exactly like someone who did it. Somebody's standing outside, hey, where can I make salah? Somebody's in the building, where can I pray? Oh, go to this floor, they have a musalla. You can go pray there. This guy comes up and makes salah, and you are sitting in your office, pretending to work. But you're getting rewarded for the guy making salah. You're getting rewarded for that. So Allah is giving us a huge incentive. Allah is encouraging us to develop this habit of becoming honest and truthful in the recommendations we make, good or bad. Now let's talk about good recommendations. Syafa'ah Hasanah, that's actually good. I give you about the warning. You have to be honest about warning others. But what about even in good things? Sometimes we become a little bit jealous. We have a culture, sometimes among many Muslim societies, where if you see a young man and he's very intelligent and he got two promotions already and you've been in the company for 10 years and you didn't get 2 promotions, and now they come to you and he's about to get his 3rd promotion, so you put in, no, you don't know this guy. Actually, he's very immature. Actually, you add in a few things. I don't want, and you begin like this, I don't want to say anything. And then you understand? This is Syafa'ah sayyi'ah. That's what's called Syafa'ah sayyi'ah. Now Allah talks about both of these. مَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً حَسَنَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ نَصِيبٌ مِنْهَا وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً سَيِّئَةً. Whoever makes a bad recommendation. What is a bad recommendation? A bad recommendation isn't don't hire this person. That could be a good recommendation if it's honest. But the guy deserves a job. He deserves to work there. And you still don't recommend him. Sometimes this could be because of race. Sometimes this could be because of family. Sometimes this could be because you don't like the guy. You just don't like him. Somebody who's a little bit older doesn't like young people. Somebody who's a little bit younger doesn't like old people. I don't want an old guy to get the job. So he does the interview. He does a perfect job at the interview. He says, no good. Not recommended, because I don't want old people walking around in my office. Come on. Let's get some better looking people in here, you know? So they don't give a recommendation. This is Syafa'ah sayyi'ah. You are given a position of responsibility. And what I'm trying to tell you is our deen, we come to get advice of our deen in the house of Allah, in the masajid, in the musalla, in the halaqat, and in the lectures. But where do you live your deen? You live your deen when you're in college. You live your deen when you're at work, at the office. You live your deen when you're talking to your family, when you're having everyday conversations. That's what this book is for. You can recite this with wonderful tajweed, but if you don't live it, there's a problem. What's the point of this book if you're not taking its advice? So Allah says, now look, listen to this. وَمَنْ يَشْفَعْ شَفَاعَةً سَيِّئَةً يَكُنْ لَهُ كِفْلٌ مِنْهَا. Not nasib this time, kifl. Whoever makes a bad recommendation, and a dishonest recommendation is how I'll explain it. Whoever recommends something or unrecommends something, speaks against something dishonestly, for bad reasons, then they are going to have a kifl from it. Now what's the kifl? Kifl has many meanings in Arabic. I'll just explain one of them to you. Somebody is walking and they have a long cloth. They have a shawl or a turban, it's long. And it gets caught in the branches, and it rips, and it pulls you back. That's actually called kifl. The piece of cloth that gets caught and gets ripped is also called kifl. It is as though you said these words, you made a bad recommendation, you said, no, don't hire this person. No, she's no good, don't marry her. No good. Because you hate her, for whatever reason. Well, now when you did this, you think you just said these words and life goes on. No, you'll get caught in the consequences. Some bad things will happen. And you will see the bad results of what you did for someone else. You did something bad to someone else, but it will come to you like a kifl. You will get caught yourself. The same bad recommendation you made for someone else, somehow, وَلَا يَحِيقُ الْمَكْرُ السَّيِّئِ إِلَّا بِأَهْلِهِ. Allah says in the Quran. We say in English, what goes around comes around. When you do something bad for someone else, or to someone else, it will eventually come and hit you. One way or the other. One way or the other. There are people who think about this seriously and they realize some bad things happen in their life and they think back and say, I did wrong to this person. This is why this is happening to me. And they realize it's true. Many times it's true. When you are doing something bad towards someone, watch out. فَلَهُ كِفْلٌ مِنْهَا وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقِيتًا. SubhanAllah. The idea here, the overall concept here, is that Muslim society, our society, because Surau Al-Nisa this is Surau Al-Nisa, The Muslims just moved to Medina, they're new in Medina, they're building a community, they're building a Muslim society. And Allah knew that when a society and a community is formed, then some problems happen. And you have to solve these problems. So you would think all the ayat should be about let's fight the Quraysh, and let's, conquer Rome, and let's do big things. Well, you can't do big things if you don't take care of the house. You can't build a castle if you don't have the right foundation. So after Iman, there were these matters of akhlaq, matters of how you deal with each other. That is the foundation of society. These are the things Allah emphasized so much in early Medina, so that the Muslims can have a strong society, and from it good things come the rest of the way. All the good spreads from it. These are principles you have to apply in your workplace. These are recommendations that we have to seriously think about. I have to think about, you have to think about. Some of you have the job, you do the job interviews. You're the one that does the job interviews. Some of you are very trusted by your managers. Some managers are very trusted by the CEO. There's a trust. You misuse that trust. And people will come to you. This is the last thing I want to share with you. I don't want to give you a long lecture today. It's easy. I want to maybe hear from you, maybe some questions or whatever, if I can answer, inshallah. I was told I was going to give you a 20-minute talk, and I'm mentally prepared to give you a 20-minute talk. I'm done. Oh my God. I'm not going to extend it. Plus 20 minutes is more than enough, because some of you are already, it's okay. I don't blame you. It's the first break you got all day after pretending to work all morning. It's the first break you got, so, one last thing I want to share with you about this entire concept of Syafa'ah is that we, in our society, sometimes we don't realize when we're doing this. And other people come to us and say, hey, the boss listens to you. Can you help me out? Can you give a recommendation? This happens to me personally. Brother, can you make a video about our program? Can you advertise our program for us? Can you tell people that we're doing a good job? And I say flat out, I love you. I don't even know you. I still love you. You're my brother. You're my sister. That's fine. But I don't know what you do. I don't know. I can't recommend you because I don't know you. That would be wrong. People reach me out on LinkedIn. You guys know about LinkedIn, right? People reach me out on LinkedIn. Hey, can you recommend me? I'm like, actually, no, I can't. Oh, come on. Help your Muslim brother. And they start quoting, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Yes, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. أَصْلِحُوا. Do the right thing among each other. Not just their brothers, so do whatever. The same thing, even if at your company some non-Muslim applies, a Christian applies, a Buddhist applies, a Hindu applies, an atheist applies, and they're good for the job. They're good for you don't say, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ, I will only hire Muslims. No. This is not about just Muslims. We have to be honest and give people what they deserve, no matter who they are. If they deserve it, they deserve it. Don't think that Islam allows you and me to be unfair to non-Muslims and favor Muslims. This is actually what the Banu Israel believed. Banu Israel believed that they are special, and the good that the deen teaches them is for each other, but not for anybody else. Everybody else is animals. Everybody else is najas. They don't count. That's not our deen. That is absolutely not our deen. We have this very high sensitivity to justice. Very high sensitivity. And we have to hold ourselves to a very, very, very high standard when it comes to this. You're in a society where, mashallah, the majority of the people are Muslims. But there is a significant minority of non-Muslims. And the best da'wah to them is not you hand them a copy of Quran, you give them a pamphlet, and you invite them to a program where you debate with them about their religion. Actually, the best da'wah to them is how you will be with them. Especially when you work with them. Especially when you go to school with them, when you do business with them. When they see the akhlaq of the Muslims, they will know nobody else does this. Nobody else has these kinds of standards. These are the standards we have to hold ourselves to. This is why the ayat are here. A few ayat before Allah asked the question. This is just a couple of ayat before ayat number 82. Allah says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ. Don't they think deeply about the Quran? What in the world does it mean to think deeply about the Quran if this does not affect how I live, how I do work, how I treat people, how I think about people. So don't even listen to your Muslim brother. He's your Muslim brother. He's your Muslim brother. But he is no good. And he wants you to recommend him. You cannot. Don't speak bad about him, but at least don't be dishonest. I had a young fellow, I used to teach him. He was my student. You know, a long time ago, maybe 10, 11 years ago. And he did some work for me. And he did a terrible job. It was absolutely horrible. I still love him because he's my student. But he did a horrible job. The deadline was missed. It was 2 months late. No communications. You know, all this bad stuff. And then at the end of it all, 2 months later he said, Ustad, can I put you as a reference on my resume? I said, you better not. Because I'm going to tell them what you did. Ustad, why would you do that to me? I was like, I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for you. You know, if I lie for you, then you're responsible and I'm responsible. You know the next ayah after this one? About salams, and then the next ayah after that, لَا يَجْمَعَنَّكُمْ إِلَىٰ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. First Allah talks about giving a good word for each other, being honest about their recommendations, then He starts talking about the day of judgment. You know, why? All of a sudden, watch it. You can get away with the lies now. You can lie right now. You can give the false recommendation right now. But it will all come out. لَيَجْمَعَنَّكُمْ إِلَىٰ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Watch it. This is the attitude we're supposed to have. So I couldn't recommend him. I used to teach Arabic at a college in New York. And when I taught Arabic, I had 20 students. 19 non-Muslims. 1 Muslim. 19 people passed. I failed. The guy doesn't do any homework. He never comes into class. He misses every exam. If he comes 40 minutes late, leaves 10 minutes early. I failed him. Then he called me. Ustad? Yes? Assalamu alaikum. You failed me. I said, yes. But I'm Muslim. I said, I think so. What does that have to do with it? You didn't do the work. And if he's arguing, well, you helped the Christians and the Jews in the class. You even helped the Hindu in the class. You even passed them, but you failed me. I was like, yeah, they did work, you didn't do work. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with your Islam. I cannot possibly give you a recommendation and pass you, because I'm not worried about the college administration, I'm worried about Allah. And what are you going to walk around, live with this lie and tell everybody you passed? Every time you show someone you passed, you're lying. You're earning sin. I'm helping you out. We have to be honest. We really have to learn to be honest. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy. But we have to do it. We have to hold ourselves to that standard. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla makes us more sensitive and better at becoming honest in our daily lives. And I pray that you are a source of support for each other. You know, the work environment is very powerful. You spend a lot of time with each other. You spend more time with each other than your family. You spend 8-10 hours a day with each other here. You go home and you get exhausted. Maybe you spend 40 minutes talking to your family, if that, and you pass it, you go to sleep, you go to work again. This is a kind of family too. When you spend so much time with each other, you're a kind of family too. And if this family, you're helping each other do the wrong thing, there's a problem. You have to become a kind of family that helps each other do the right thing. And if you're getting corrected or being reminded, don't be offended. Find a courteous and a respectful way of giving each other advice. And giving each other advice privately. And a courteous way of being honest and, increasing the brotherhood and the sisterhood among each other. I make dua that Allah protects this ummah from all kinds of fitna. And then He puts a lot of barakah in all of your rizq and all of your earnings, that Allah makes them halal, a source of goodness for you and your families. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal increases you, not only in terms of this dunya, but in terms of the akhirah. And I pray that Allah makes us people of good shafa'ah here, so Allah gives us the good shafa'ah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the Day of Judgment. You have to understand something. If we are being expected to do honest shafa'ah, that's expectation from us, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also being expected to be honest on Judgment Day. So He will not recommend you and me if we're not good. We have to earn it. It's not free. So I pray that we earn the shafa'ah of the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam on the Day of Judgment. Thank you so very much for listening. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Go ahead.
Thanks to Sheikh Nouman. So before we end, we would like to open if any question from the floor. So you can raise and stand up.
Not all at once. Actually, I'm really happy if you don't have any questions. I'm really happy. Yes.
I have a question. Is my understanding correct that usually when we read the Quran about Muslims and Kafirs, so is it true that a person who is Islam is Muslim and a person who is not Islam is Kafir and going to hell? Is that a right understanding or not?
To the best of my knowledge, no, that's not the right understanding. The idea of, so the Quran is actually very detailed in the description of the people and where they stand. I'd like to give, the question was about who do we consider Muslim and who do we consider Kafir. If you're a Muslim, then you're a believer, everybody else is Kafir. In a fiqhi sense, that may be true, but in the Quranic sense, it's different. There's a difference. So what's the difference? I'll give you some advice that inshallah it'll help you and it'll help me. Number one, where somebody will go on Judgment Day is not up to you and me. It's not up to you and me. So you don't get to say about your neighbor who's a Buddhist or a Hindu or whatever, that they're going to hell. Allah knows whether or not inside of their heart they've secretly accepted Islam or not, that they believe in one Allah or not. We don't know anything. We don't know what's inside people's hearts. So we don't say these things about other people. We leave it alone. Actually, we don't even say about ourselves, I'm going to Jannah. Do we? No. If I had a guaranteed ticket to Jannah, why am I reading ayat about, or why am I making dua, waqina adhab an-nar? Why am I making that dua? Protect us from the fire. Now, as far as non-Muslims are concerned, Allah Azza wa Jal makes a big distinction between people who heard the message of Islam, people who never heard the message of Islam. Allah describes people that are ghafil, people that are, لا يعلمون ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعلمون, people that don't even know yet, they have no idea. Allah talks about among the people of the book, وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ, among the people of the book, there are those who believe and have taqwa. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ, even they're described as, they have taqwa in Sultan Imran. So why are we learning about these things? We're learning about these things because Allah knows best what is inside of them. Yes, when somebody says Allah has a son, when somebody says I believe in 20 gods and all of that, Allah clearly says, Quran clearly, this is kufr, this is shirk, no doubt about it. But we don't know what's inside a person. We can declare those ideas that are out, people say them, people move and declare them, we can say that is disbelief, that is not Islam, that is not faith. But when somebody doesn't say anything, we don't know and we shouldn't judge. We don't know and we shouldn't judge. The other thing is there's a difference between kafir and kafir. The kafir who fought Rasulullah for 10 years, 12 years, tried to kill him is different. And the kafir who sat in Makkah and had no idea what's going on, he was sleeping in his house for 10 years, is different. They're not the same. The kafir who was fighting the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah says about him, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. It's the same whether you warn them or don't warn them, they're not going to believe. They're not going to believe. Now when if you tell me, whether I try to tell you or I don't tell you, no difference. That means this is a lost case, yes? Hopeless case. Is there any point to giving da'wah to that person? No. It's a lost case. Terminal cancer. He's gone. But then in Makkah, there are also some people who lived there, but they didn't fight the Prophet. They didn't. They're not the same kuffar that Allah is talking about in Baqarah. Allah talks about him in Surah At-Tawbah. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا. If one of the mushrikeen comes to you, imagine Fath Makkah. How many years it's been now? 23 years almost. 23 years of Islam. And one mushrik comes and he says, I have no idea about Islam. I never heard of it. He lives in Makkah. I'm like, where did you live in Makkah, man? You don't know anything about Islam? He goes, no. What's Quran? I don't know. What's this messenger business? And the Muslims have already conquered Makkah. And the Sahabi could say, come here, come here. No. You know what Allah says about this guy, this mushrik? Allah doesn't say, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Whether you warn them or not, they're not going to believe anyway. No. Allah says, if a mushrik comes to you, seeking your protection, give him protection. Ajirhu, give him protection. حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ, until he gets to hear Allah's speech. ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا. Then take them to a safe place. Go take them to a place where there's no Sahabi holding a sword. Go take them to a safe place so they can think about it on their own without feeling pressure. Incredible. Not all the people in Makkah are the same. If all the people in Makkah are not the same, how can you say all the non-Muslims in the world are the same? How can you say that? Are all the people of Medina the same? No. Are all the people of the book the same in the Quran? No. They're not the same. Allah compares some of them. إِن تَأْمَنْهُ بِدِينَارٍ لَا يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ إِن تَأْمَنْهُ بِقِنْطَارٍ لَا يُؤَدِّهِ إِلَيْكَ. If you gave some, among the people of the book, if you gave them a mountain of wealth, they'll give it back to you. And some of them are so dishonest, you give them $1, one ringgit, half a ringgit. They won't give it back to you. إِلَّا مَا دُمْتَ عَلَيْهِ قَائِمًا. Except you stand on their case, you call them all the time, you get a lawyer, you stand at their door, pay me my money, then they might give it to you. They're not all the same. And let me ask you even something more. Are the Muslims all the same? No. If the Muslims are all the same, human beings are not all the same. In a family, no two individuals are not all the same. How can we so easily say the non-Muslims are all the same? They're not. That's not what the Quran teaches. We have to look at the Quran. You know Allah's complaint, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Why don't they look deeply into the Quran? We don't look at the Quran deeply. That's the problem. We look at it, just some translation, oh, kafir, mushrik, all same thing. Allah gives us very profound advice in His book. But you don't get the real advice until you seriously think deeply. If you just read shallow, and you just read surface translation, and you think you already know, it's going to be big problems. So I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal clears our understanding about that. By the way, one last comment about that. If you don't have that understanding, and you just say all the kuffar are the same, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. If that was the truth, if that was the case for all kuffar, then there's no point of doing da'wah. There's no reason to do da'wah ever. Why? Because Allah says, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. Doesn't make a difference. So why even bother? Do people still take shahada? Yeah. Do people accept Islam? Yes. Which means they're not part of that ayah, الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. They're not part of that ayah. They prove that they're not part of that ayah. The reality speaks otherwise. So it's important that we develop this kind of thinking, because it'll help us think about other human beings in a more decent way. Inshallah ta'ala. Okay, one more question. Sister side.